Have you ever noticed something interesting? The most confident person in the room is rarely the loudest. They are not always the one speaking the most, not trying to impress anyone, they're not constantly posting their achievements, and they're definitely not seeking approval from every person they meet. Yet somehow, people respect them. For a long time, I thought confidence looked like being outspoken, fearless, and always knowing what to say. But the older I get, the more I realize that real confidence is much quieter than that. And today I want to talk about why we have misunderstood confidence for so long and what genuine confidence really looks like. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaval, and on this channel, we talk about personal growth, lifestyle, becoming the best version of ourselves, and creating a life that feels meaningful. Today's topic is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately because social media often shows us confidence as something loud. We see people speaking boldly, showing luxury lifestyles, announcing every achievement, always appearing certain, and without even realizing it, we feel like confidence must look the same. When you think about a confident person, what comes to your mind? Maybe someone who's outspoken, someone who's always sharing their opinions, someone who walks into the room and immediately gets everyone's attention. For the longest time, I thought confidence looked like that too. I thought confident people are the loudest in the room. But over the years, I have realized something surprising. Some of the most confident people that I've met were actually the quietest. They weren't trying to impress anyone, they weren't constantly talking, they were not seeking attention. Yet somehow, people respected them. And that's when I realized that confidence and loudness are not the same thing. I think real confidence is something much quieter than we imagine. So let's talk about what real confidence really look like. I think the biggest reason why we misunderstand confidence is because we confuse it with attention, especially in today's world. We are constantly surrounded by people who are sharing their achievements, opinions, lifestyles, and highlights of their lives. And without even realizing, we start believing that the people getting the most attention must be the most confident. But that's not necessarily true. Someone can be getting a lot of attention but can be deeply insecure, and someone can be very quiet and still be incredibly confident. I remember when I first started putting myself out there. Before posting anything, I would overthink. What if people judge me? What if nobody likes it? What if someone leaves a negative comment? I spent so much time worrying about what other people would think. Looking back, the issue was not my content. The issue was that I was giving more power to the strangers over my decisions than I was giving myself. And I think many of us do that. We all wait for approval before taking action. We wait for validation before trusting ourselves. But confidence isn't doing something because everyone approves. Confidence is doing it even when everyone doesn't. Because if your confidence depends on attention, then you'll always need more attention. But when your confidence comes from within, you don't need constant approvals to keep moving forward. One thing I've noticed that confident people, they don't spend too much time proving others that how confident they are. Think about it. When you're secure in who you are, you don't feel the need to constantly remind people. You don't need to prove your intelligence in every conversation. You don't need to show off every achievement. You don't need everyone to know how successful you are because you're already comfortable with yourself. I think insecurity often feels louder than the confidence. Insecurity wants to be seen. Insecurity wants reassurance. It wants constant confirmation. But confidence is different. It is peaceful. It doesn't need an audience. Another thing I've realized is that confident people, they don't need to win every argument. Have you ever seen people arguing endlessly online? One person says something, another person disagrees, and suddenly they are going back and forth for hours trying to prove who's right. Years ago, I used to think that having the last word meant being strong. Now, I think the opposite. I think that there is certain strength in knowing when to stop. For example, confident people can say, "That's your opinion. I understand your perspective." We don't have to agree because disagreement is not a threat to them. Their self-respect is not attached to being right all the time. And I think that's one of the clearest signs of confidence. The ability to stay calm when someone thinks differently from you. Confidence is trusting yourself. This might be my favorite definition of confidence. It is actually self-trust. Not perfection, not fearlessness, not knowing everything. Trusting yourself that you are going to make a right decision for yourself. Trusting yourself to learn. Trusting yourself to recover from your mistakes. For a long time, I thought confident people were those who always knew what they were doing. Now I realize that nobody actually knows what they're exactly doing all the time. We are all figuring things out as we go. Whether it's a new job, a relationship, starting a business, creating content, learning a language, making a big life decision. There is always uncertainty. Confidence isn't having all the answers. It's actually believing that somehow you'll figure things out along the way. And I think that's much more realistic. The loudest voice isn't always the strongest. Social media often rewards visibility. The loudest opinion, the strongest reaction, the biggest announcement, but real life is different. Some of the strongest people that I've met were incredibly quiet. They didn't dominate conversations, they didn't need constant attention, they simply carried themselves with certainty. They knew who they are, they knew what mattered to them, and because of that, they don't waste their energy trying to convince everyone. When they spoke, people listened, not because they were loud, but because they were grounded. And I think that's a beautiful form of confidence. Confident people don't constantly seek validation. This is something that I've been personally working on. I think sometimes we ask for reassurance because we are actually afraid of making a wrong choice. We ask everyone, what do you think? Do you like this? Should I do this? And while advice can be valuable, but at the end you have to trust your own judgment because nobody else is living your life. Nobody knows exactly what you want. Nobody has to live with your decisions. Confidence is listening to advice without becoming dependent on it. It's like being able to hear different opinions, different advices, and still make your own choice. That kind of confidence creates freedom because you're no longer waiting for permission to live your life. The goal isn't to make everyone like you. The goal is to be comfortable with yourself. If there is one thing that I hope you take away from this video, it's this. You do not need to be the loudest person in the room to become confident. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need everyone's approvals. And you definitely don't need to prove yourself to everyone else around you. Real confidence is much quieter. It's actually trusting yourself. It is accepting yourself. It's knowing who you are without anybody validating you. Thank you so much for watching. If this video resonated with you, let me know in the comments, what does confidence mean to you? And I would genuinely love to hear your perspective. And if you enjoy conversations about personal growth, mindset, confidence, lifestyle, and becoming the best version of yourself, then don't forget to subscribe. Take care of yourself, trust yourself a little more, and remember, the most powerful confidence is often the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. And I'll see you in my next video.